everyone, it's Hailey, and today I'm going to be ranking my top 25 favorite books. This is the third time I've done this intro because the first time I was using the wrong lens, so I was really far away and I was like, why? And then I went and looked at the other video that I did like this and I figured it out, and I mean, kind of, it's still a little bit different, but it's fine. But then I just didn't press record because I was like, why would we do that? So we're back, okay? We are back, and I'm gonna explain this all over again. Woo! So these tier ranking videos are nothing new. I've done one that will go up before this video, which is ranking series, and I decided to do my top 25 favorite books, and then I'm also planning on doing a bunch of different genres, so I'll be filming those very soon. But I thought it would be fun to do my top 25 favorite books of all time, excluding classics, because I just feel like it's easier if I just focus on YA and adult, so that's just what I decided to do. So I have, like, this is gonna be torturous. I'm not gonna be able to do this, but we're gonna push through and persevere. Instead of doing the god tier, demigod tier, and that whole thing and trash tier, I decided to do A, B, C, D, and E. I just felt like it was easier because none of these are trash in my opinion. They're all god, so it didn't make sense to me to put them in those tiers. I just decided to name it something different. But we have a list here. Let's just dive on in. So I feel like we all already know where this book is gonna go, so let's just put, oh, can I not? There we go. Let's just put you there, okay? The Book Thief is definitely A tier. Other than Alice in Wonderland, it is my all-time favorite book. I just adore that story. I think it is so beautiful, and it's very near and dear to my heart. Like, I love it. I know it's not for everyone. People are always like, oh, I'm sorry, I read it and I didn't like it, which is fine. Like, there's plenty of people who can't even get through it because they don't like the perspective or the writing. Definitely not for everyone. Neither is Alice. So I totally understand. At least you tried, and I am okay with that. We all have our own unique opinions and thoughts, and that's cool. Anyways, moving on. Second on the list is The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. This is kind of a hard one because I haven't read it in a long time, but when I first read it, this would have gone straight up to the top. But now I think it might fall at more a B tier. I almost feel like I should have included Turtles All the Way Down on this instead of like other books in here, because I think that that one might, I don't know, like, I think I'm gonna go with B just because I feel like it does belong there. I love that story. It's a little bit cliche, but like, it's just beautifully written. I enjoy John Green's writing and I definitely like it a lot. The Diviner is by Libba Bray. This is also a really hard one. I love these characters, love the 1920s vibes that you get, and it's a ghost story. No one is more surprised than me that I like this book because I'm not into ghosts or anything like that. Like, it's just not me at all, but Libba Bray does it so expertly, and the series is fantastic. I feel like that one is like, I want to put it in A, but I also want to put all of them in A. I'm gonna put it in A though, because I love it. I really do. The character development, everything about the friend group, oh, it's just so good. It's really good. I don't know. Okay, so Throne of Glass, I was kind of second guessing my decision, but Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. This one, I feel like will go in E. I'm not like a huge, I haven't read the series in a long time, okay, but I feel like I kind of fell out of love with it as the books went on. So as far as being one of my favorite books of all time, as much as I love it, I don't know how close it is to the very top of that list, especially since I haven't even finished the series yet, which is so bad. But I just think that the story is super solid. I do enjoy the characters for this one as well. There's some iconic characters in there, but it's not like my favorite of my favorites. Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I would say that this one will go in C tier. That one was very relatable for me, the writing aspect of it, and I read it when I was in my I think it was my first year of university, so I found everything about Kath's story and her struggles with going to college for the first time and learning to adapt to that very relatable, and that's why it was a very enjoyable read for me. But I also read it so quickly, like it flew by, and I loved the romance because I loved Levi. It would be really interesting though to read it again now and see how I feel about it. A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas. I think this one I'm kind of debating between the E tier and the D tier for this one. It's once again not my like fave of faves, but I think that this one will go in the D tier. I like it a little bit more than Throne of Glass, I think. I think it was a little bit more well-rounded and appealed to me in a way, but once again, it's just not like at the top of the top. It just is a very enjoyable story that is near and dear to my heart, but not my fave of faves. It's kind of hard to describe like what makes it to the top of my list because there's just a feeling, you know? So once again, A tier for Harry Potter. I lost the mouse, so I accidentally put it in B tier, but that goes right into A tier. I love Harry Potter. Obviously there's nostalgia attached to it, so that adds to it, but I don't think that makes a huge difference for me because I never actually finished reading the books until I was in my 20s. But once I did, it's like so beautiful. I don't know why I said that like that, but the thing is, they're just so good. They're honestly, truly really great stories. And I think that's proven with the fact that I started my reread last year at the end of the year and I still want to continue it. But every time I pick up a Harry Potter book, I just get a feeling. There's a certain feeling when I read those stories, and I think it's something that a lot of people relate to, and you just don't get that with every book, so I think that's something that means a lot to me. Now, The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater, that one I'm going to put in D tier. Now, I really like The Raven Boys, I love that series, but I just don't think that it's at the top for me because I think a lot of why I fell in love with it was the hype, but I do think that it's genius. The characters are fantastic. The Raven Boys are just great, but I think the fact that I haven't really felt like reading Call Down the Hawk, that kind of makes me think that it's a little bit lower and towards the bottom of my list. So I might regret that when I read Call Down the Hawk, but like, I don't know. I'm torn between C and D for that one. Once again, I can't make a decision, but I'm gonna stick with D. The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton is next, and this one I'm going to put in the B tier. This is such a beautiful magical realism story, and I loved the writing of it and how inventive it was, and that it transported me to such an odd world, and it made me feel things I wasn't expecting to, and oh, it was just really, really good. So I love that book, and yeah, it's definitely close to the top of my list. Next is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. This is going to go in the E tier as well. It's my favorite Alice in Wonderland retelling of all time. I think she did a great job with the Queen of Hearts villain and finding out more of the story behind her and how she came to be who she is when you read like actual Alice in Wonderland. However, I did have a couple of things with it, so I think that if it weren't an Alice in Wonderland retelling, obviously then it'd be like a completely different story, but I do think that would change the harshness of my critique. I think just because she embodied Lewis Carroll so well, that's why I love it so much, because it rang true to the original while still adding its own spin on it, and to me that's the mark of a fantastic retelling. So I do think that there's a little bit of bias there with this one, but I mean, it is a list of my favorites, so I feel like that's fine. Next is An Ember in the Ashes by Saba Tahir. This one, once again, is actually going to go in the E tier. Now, things in the E tier, like that doesn't mean I don't like it. These still are all 5 out of 5 star books. It's just toward the lower end of my favorites list, okay? Like I feel like I need to like preface this. I don't know, why did I come up with this video? This is so sad. So An Ember in the Ashes is a very inventive story that creeps me the heck out every time I read it, just because it's a dark and gritty world, and it honestly gave me nightmares. Something about the world just creeps me right out. But this is once again a situation where I haven't finished the series yet, so that kind of tells me that even though I fell in love with the first book, it might be a little bit lower on my list. And this is actually kind of the first book that I looked to when I was thinking of books that I could switch out with Turtles All the Way Down, but I already have 2 John Green books on here, so I didn't want to add a third, so oh well. Next is My Lady Jane by the Lady Janies. So this, I would say, goes in D. I feel like I'm hesitant to put stuff near the top. I don't know why, but My Lady Jane is a story that I just loved because of how funny and different it was. It just like took me for a ride, and I enjoyed every part of it, every second of it. It's so weird, but so good. It works for some reason. It's a story that you wouldn't expect to work, but it truly does, and I appreciate it for that reason. Looking for Alaska by John Green, I am going to put in the C tier. I feel like Fangirl was lonely there, but that's not why I put it there. I read this when I was in high school, so I think part of why I love it is probably because of the angst that I was in high school, and this story embodies angst and all of that. So I think as like a young aspiring English major reading this book, I was like, this is damn near gold. But I do still love that story. I have fond memories of it. There's a lot going on in it and like some different things, but I still think it's solid. That was such a weird explanation, but moving on. Next is Illuminate by Amy Kaufman and Jake Kristoff. This will go in the C or D, where shall you go? I don't know. I think this will go in the C tier? Oh, this is so hard. Okay, I'm gonna put it in the D tier actually. So I love Illuminate because it's very different and techy, and the audiobook combination with like actually following along in the book, it gives you this multimedia experience that you don't really get with any other story, and I did love that series. So how do I explain why I love books? Why am I a booktuber? Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This is actually gonna go in the B tier. This might surprise a lot of you because I rave about Six of Crows quite a bit, but I don't think it's like perfect. So I feel like there are some things that I wish it had done a little bit differently, and for that reason, I feel like B is a solid place to go for it, and that's where it's gonna be. Okay. The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, that one's gonna shoot straight up to A tier. Oh my god, that's one of those books where I made like pretty much everyone read it when I finished it, because so many people had told me it's amazing, you're gonna love it, blah blah blah, and I was like, there's way too many people hyping this book up, I'm probably gonna hate it, but I loved it even more than I was expecting to. So I made my mom read it, I made all my sisters read it, I made them all read it, they all loved it, and that just like, oh, I love that book a lot. The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins is going to go in C tier. I like The Hunger Games a lot. I feel like I start off my explanation with I love it a lot just to preface it, but it's true, like I honestly do. And I think that it is such a smart story and definitely something that makes you think a lot. So it's just like, I don't know, it's not all the way up there, and I think part of that is because like I like Katniss as a character, but I don't really care that much for any of the other characters. Radio Silence by Alice Oseman, I'm going to put in the D tier. I think that story discussed a lot of really important things and it made me think, and it's definitely a story that I won't forget anytime soon, but it also is a little bit closer to the bottom of my list. I don't know why, but it is. I don't know how to explain it. The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli. That one is also gonna go in E tier. I like how my bottom tier of my top favorite books is the longest. Like that's the biggest tier that I have. I think it's because I'm so hesitant to be like, these books are my absolute favorite, like I love them so much, and then like these ones are also favorite. I don't know. How do I explain myself? I just don't, because I don't make any sense. The Upside of Unrequited is kind of another case where it's a story that's really personal to me and I related to it a lot, so I think that's one of the reasons why it's my favorite, but I did also have a couple of issues with it, so I think that makes sense for it. The Goose Girl by Shannon Hale. Oh my god, like I also want to put this in E tier. E tier or D tier? I like this series a lot though. I'm gonna put it in D tier. I love this series. I think that it makes a lot of sense. The series is really cool because they each focus on a different kind of obscure Grimm's fairy tale, and it was a great ride listening to those books, so yeah, 10 out of 10. The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas. This is going to go to B tier. Such a great story, such great commentary, so well written. I'm so excited for Concrete Rose, which was just announced the day that I'm filming this, but to know more about Maverick, like that's gonna be great. Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating by Christina Lauren. This I'm going to put in C tier. That might seem kind of surprising because I do rave about this book all the time, but it is, I would say, my favorite adult romance of all time, but there are some issues that I had with it. But I do, like, I love it, so I feel like somewhere in the middle is where it belongs. I feel like I kind of want to move some stuff around here, but I also don't want to because that's going to complicate things way too much. But I'm kind of thinking of moving the Raven Boys to C tier. Maybe no, I'm gonna keep it at C tier. Okay, I'm moving the Raven Boys to C tier. I feel like that makes sense. Anyways, Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This one I'm going to put in B tier. I read this book twice when it came out, maybe in 3 times. Did I read it 3 times? I don't know, but I fell in love with the story every single time. It's just so cool and so good. Oh, it's just excellent. Like, I just love that book. I love just the characters and the angst and everything about it is great. Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. This one is going to go in C tier. So much fun, such a beautiful and adorable romance, and just funny, like an overall funny and enjoyable story, and sometimes that's just what you need. So I feel like that belongs in the middle because, like, it didn't blow me out of the water. I mean, it did, but I did have some issues with it in terms of it took me a while to get into it, but once I did get into it, like, it was just tip-top shape, so good. And finally, the most recent edition, Lovely War by Julie Berry. This is kind of a hard one because I read it so recently that it's fresh in my brain, and that love is so fresh that I don't really know where to put it. I think that, oh, this is a really hard one, but I think it belongs on this list, so I did want to include it, but it's just like, where does it belong on this list? I don't really know. I guess that this will be, I think, a B or C tier. I'm gonna put it in B tier. Now, I'm kind of like hesitant to have it there just because, like I said, it's so fresh in my mind that I'm like, but I keep looking at this and I want to change things. Like, I want to move the Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender to A. I kind of want to move Six of Crows to A. Let's just do it. Okay. Strange and Beautiful Sorrows. Actually, Six of Crows is going to stay there. Am I fine with this list? I need to stop changing my mind. I'm gonna put the Hunger Games in B. No, I'm gonna put it back down to C. I'm just gonna stop. Okay, that's my list. So in A, we have The Book Thief, The Diviners, Harry Potter, Nightingale, Ava Lavender. I'm gonna give you like abbreviated titles. B, we have The Fault in Our Stars, Hate U Give, Daisy Jones, Lovely War, Six of Crows. C, Fangirl, Looking for Alaska, Josh and Hazel, Raven Boys, Red, White, and Royal Blue, Hunger Games. D, Court of Thorns and Roses, My Lady Jane, Illuminate, The Goose Girl. And finally, E, Throne of Glass, Heartless, and Ember in the Ashes, Radio Silence, and The Upside of Unrequited. So I don't hate any of these books. I love them all, and I'm gonna stop saying that because I don't need to justify myself to anyone. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it wasn't boring, especially because it's really hard for me to describe why I love books, which is super weird because that's what I've been doing for like 6 years now, but whatever. I still hope you guys liked it. It was actually pretty fun, and I'm looking forward to filming more of these videos because they're really enjoyable to do. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you liked it, and I will see you guys in my next video soon. Bye!